In the summer months, probably cut the first cut within 10 days, 2 weeks. Don't let the grass get away from you. Make sure you sort of put the mower on its highest setting and take the top off, and then bring down the cut height over probably 3 or 4 weeks. The rule of thumb is not take off more than 1/3 of the leaf at any one time. Winter time, you could lay turf in November and not cut it until March. So it really depends on the time of year. What I've been inclined to do is, once turf's been laid, is to get some fertiliser, put the fertiliser over the new lawn. I tend to basically recommend that rather than putting on the fertiliser before the turf's laid. I would then suggest that probably it has 3 feeds, so one spring, one summer and one in the autumn, to keep that lawn nice and healthy. If you keep an eye on the turf, maybe sort of 2 or 3 weeks, you can try and sort of lift the sides of the turfs up basically on the lawn. Once the roots have got in and it's anchored in, then it's fine. It's a way to go. But obviously for the first 2 or 3 weeks, when you have to walk on the lawn, just try and use boards to save putting any footmarks into the lawn to make any indentations. Worms do a great job for aerating the soil. It obviously means that the soil is actually quite alive and basically in a good state. But obviously worm casts can cause a bit of an unsightly problem. Best thing is just leave the worm casts to dry. When they're dry, just get a brush and just brush them off, and it'll be fine. Toadstools basically are quite common after new laid turf. Reason being is obviously all soil has bacteria, or has basically has fungal spores in basically, that get activated once the rolls of turf get warmed up through the natural heating process of rolling a turf and being on a pallet. They're absolutely fine, just mow them off, they will disappear. If you do want to get rid of them, apparently Fairy Liquid in a watering can basically gets rid of them very quickly, but it's nothing to worry about, and it's quite common, and there's nothing I can do, it's just nature. Fusarium's an airborne disease that comes along, and it really tends to affect newly laid turf when the conditions are right, i.e. the conditions have to be still mornings where the grass doesn't dry off at all during the day and the leaf stays damp and stays wet. The fusarium in the air comes along and can potentially sort of scar the turf and scar the lawn, but to be honest, it'll grow out in the spring, no problem at all. Once it becomes more resilient and hardy, then fusarium damage is very minimal. When the turf goes down, obviously the roots are very shallow, and the roots are struggling or basically trying to source any bit of water they can out of the soil. And therefore, basically, a dog comes along and it wheezes, it basically goes straight into the plant, and effectively, urine is full of nitrogen, it's full of fertiliser, which is really good, but obviously too much of anything is bad, and effectively it kills the lawn pretty quickly. So therefore leaves these little sort of patches within the lawn. You can get dog rocks to go in the water bowl to basically try and neutralise the urine, does help, or you can go and try and sort of follow it around the watering can and wash it away. Make sure in the winter months you keep the leaves off it, because suddenly grass will grow in quite shady areas, but with leaves on top, it's not shady, it's dark, and it kills the grass very quickly. So keep the leaves off it and you get a nice healthy lawn. Once the turf's arrived, as long as preparation's been done properly, as long as the turf's laid properly and is firmed down properly, nice and level, it's not left too long before basically the turf's cut, and it's fertilised 3 or 4 times a year to make sure the turf's kept nice and healthy and the leaves are kept off it, then there's no reason at all why you won't have an absolutely perfect lawn.